how to work with your sensitivity, how to work with those first impressions, how to recognize how other people communicate, how to work with my guidance, how to maintain my self-respect in all environments, how to maintain respect for all others, so that it's a win, win, win. Welcome. This is another podcasting episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual, featuring myself, Tom Shantz, and
Teresa Shantz. This is our TNT special edition that we do, kind of once a month, right?
TNT Spirit Works.
Yeah, we usually call it What's Up Spiritually.
Yeah. So what's up spiritually now is we're near the end of the year.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's been on my mind is like really looking at what I've accomplished, my highlights were. I think that's like the big key. What did I really enjoy about what I did? Mm-hmm. And anything I do differently. And that helps me learn, from my experiences. Right. So, we did this just the other day or last week or something. And for example, as I thought about it, we were back in April. We looked at our little calendar. Where were we in April? Mm-hmm. And we were at a fair in Old Wine, Wisconsin, Iowa. We went to Wisconsin after that, but we went to a great fair, and we established new friendships. We had a lot of people show up that were like-minded souls, and that was really fulfilling to meet them and hear them share. And, had I not stopped and regrouped that with you, I'd have forgotten that. It felt like it was like 2 years ago or something, but it was just several months ago. And I think the final thing I'd like to make a point of is like it helps me relax with what has transpired in the year. Mm-hmm. And it helps me see that, I've actually done more than I thought, because there's a lot of pressure in our environment to hit certain targets and achieve things. And, especially in business these days. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it is important to regroup and look back at, especially at the end of a year, a calendar year, of what things have happened. And I know there's a lot of people that do this, that they, come together with people. Sometimes they'll do them with collaging work, or they'll do journaling, and it can look like any way you really want it to look. But for the spiritual part of your journey, it's just good to connect with your guidance, or connect with, your angels, whatever you connect with, and have time to really sit for a little bit and just go, okay, so, what did I accomplish this year for myself spiritually? And you kind of look back and, like Tom and I, we do kind of go month to month, because we're, here, there, everywhere doing, the fairs, the expos, Australia. We're gone all the time, somewhere different. So we look at kind of like, the months, but you could take quarters. You could do, you can ask Spirit to give you some insights on, what was some of the highlight events of your year spiritually, for you to regroup and understand where you're at right now. Because that's the thing, is like everything we do, it creates, and it's who you are right now. It's like, it builds up, and it's wow, look at all that I've accomplished in this year. And I really I had no idea all that I did. So.
Yeah. And I think, everything and everyone is energy. Mm-hmm. And my spiritual life is really just evaluating my experience from that point of view, that I'm energy, that I'm a soul, is another way of saying the same thing. So I think there's so much emphasis, like particularly in business, on like reports and numbers and achievements, and do we hit our targets and so forth. And that's important as well, because that's the practical, side of things. But sometimes the results are not exactly what I was hoping for, or maybe I didn't keep a New Year's resolution in a certain area. But when I focus on what I did accomplish, that's what strikes me. That's how Spirit works, how our spiritual helpers work. They'll always look at the positive, and let's build from there, because creative energy, how it feels to me, in my opinion, it feels like creative energy is a building energy. It's a creation. And a negative energy is kind of just like a weakening. It's a disintegrating, kind of a thing. And of course, that we're just characterized it as one way or the other. But when I'm aware of what's going on spiritually, I keep my energy more compact. So like you say, we can regroup on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and a 6-monthly basis or quarterly or something. But I don't have to get too worked up. I found that I didn't regroup for 6 months. As long as I sit down and just kind of recap for myself some of the things I've accomplished, because often I forget, that there was actually a goal I set in the beginning of the year. And, for example, in playing drums with the bands, and I had a ton of gigs this year. So I know that I've had a ton of gigs and I've got them all up on my calendar, but I forget that I actually set that goal last year or beginning of the year and I wasn't sure, a year ago from now, how all that would transpire. So I go, oh, I did achieve something. I did accomplish something that I really wanted to do.
Yeah. And so for myself, the beginning of the year, I've been working in a container with a wonderful mentor from down under, Shawnee.
Oh, that was pretty good, Teresa.
Was that good?
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the year, she gave us a keyword to use for the whole year. And the keyword was discernment. So I took this on board, and I really, especially with my spiritual helpers, I wanted to start discerning what's me and what's not me, and really be crystal clear with how I can feel when something's not quite right or comes in or out. So throughout this year and looking back, I've had quite a few opportunities to have this experience with what's not me, what's me and what's not me. And I just had one recently I'd love to share, where Tom and I were going out to, we went to a place to get some work done on our cell phone, and went in there and talked to the gentleman who, was helpful. And then we left. And on the way home, I started not feeling quite right. I started getting angry and I resentful, and I had all these emotions starting to pop up. And Tom was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And, and which is my normal, I don't know. And until I get a little further down the process, and I do know. Well, I realized it didn't take me long to discern that I had actually picked up an energy in that place, and I brought it back with me. And so it was affecting me and my energy, and it affected my mood. And being able to discern really within a short period of time that that's what went on, it dissipates, it moves away from me. So being able to recognize, again, from the beginning of the year to where I'm at now, which is December, how far I've come with discerning and the clarity, just like you and the band, and, and setting a goal or setting that energy, it's like Spirit backs it. So yeah, Spirit backed me. And there were many other times, some of we've actually shared on here with you guys, of things that I was discerning. The time I fell recently a couple months ago, and that energy came in. So there's been all kinds of scenarios that Spirit has set up, or, I've set up, with Spirit to really give me an understanding of how to discern my energy at a deeper level.
Well, that's a great example, because for you folks out there listening, the person that was helping us he didn't want to really help. Grumpy. He was kind of sitting there a little annoyed that we came in. There was nobody else in the store, but he was a little annoyed. And Teresa sort of politely insisted that he help us. And then he began to help us, and he was of service. We accomplished what we wanted to accomplish to the best that we could in that situation. And so it worked out beautifully. So it was interesting how she left and then started feeling that way. And really what that means to me is that we're so sensitive that when somebody else is feeling aggro or annoyed or put out or put off or whatever, if I'm not careful, I can attract that. And, and usually there's a little something in me that pulls that energy in. I'm a little annoyed that he was annoyed, and now we're both annoyed and that kind of thing. But the great thing was we discerned it, or she discerned it on herself, on her own, really, that, when she checked with Spirit, I was there. She goes, "Oh, it was that guy." And I had the same, I had the same impression, but I hadn't said anything to her. I go, "Oh yeah, it was that person we were dealing with." So it was something simple. We accomplished what we wanted to. There was nobody else in the store, one other helper person over there, assistant, and then this one fellow. And yet, and we accomplished what we wanted to. So it was kind of a smooth experience. And yet we still picked up an energy, or she picked up an energy because she's sensitive. So that happens a lot to folks, and
more than I think people realize.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, whether or not you're aware of energy when you pick it up, or outside energies. Because I was thinking too that we have people around us in our environment who, when they go through things, maybe they're depressed, or maybe they're at a different place than we are. We feel that. So whatever variation it is that you need to discern for yourself, whether it be, walking into Walmart and coming out going, oh, I don't feel so good, or the place we were at, or with a loved one. It's just really important to start understanding again, what your energy feels like, so you can start discerning that. And it makes it easier to really move through the world, because again, if you don't understand about this, or you're not tuned into this, we're all energy. So we all have this within us. So, even people, that maybe don't understand that, that we are an energy being in a physical body, and they get grumpy, or something turns on them quick. Well, we all can attract these energies to us in different times of our lives and different times of the day, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we can all stimulate each other, and
we do.
There's a little bit, there must be a percentage in you that could take a hold. There must be. So to what percent? Now, often we assume, I know I've assumed, I'll say that, I don't like to say we anymore, but that it's all me. I'm just the one that's angry, or I picked up, here I am feeling all this inner peace and bliss. And then I come out of a situation which went well, which is funny. And I'm feeling, annoyed or angry. Now my inner bliss or inner peace is somehow I've given that up. So, but here's the kicker, is that a lot of times if I'm picking up on somebody else's depression, maybe it's 2% me. It's not 90%. It might feel like, if I accept it, it can feel like me, or, they can trigger those emotions within me. I suppose that's really what happens, is it triggers the concepts and the emotions, and, the thoughts that start running through your head, like, well, nobody wants to help us here, and everybody's, out for themselves. And like whatever little litany of stories you start telling yourself, there's a clue there. That of what you could replace those thoughts with. Well, we accomplished our mission. We got as much information as we could at this particular time.
Yeah, but what's interesting that I think about this situation, especially, and other situations too, is like, we're human. So we're going to have human experiences. So when I walked in that store, maybe my energy was a little low. Maybe I didn't feel 100%, enthusiastic. Because honestly, people, I'm very friggin' enthusiastic, but there are times when I'm not. So maybe I walked in there a little down, and then the energy was like, bing, right to her. So that's what the thing that comes to me, is that, we are human. So even if we're all doing our spiritual work and our inner child work and whatever work you're doing on yourself spiritually, you're human. So having these experiences, honestly, for myself, again, back to the discernment and back to the regrouping, is it makes me go, wow, a year ago, I would not have picked up that quickly. And I might have even lingered in it a while and had a fight with Tom because I was pissed off about something when, seriously, right?
And I had nothing to do with it.
Right. So that's the thing, is looking back at where you are, how far you've come spiritually this year. That's what we're really talking about.
Yeah. And so all these little situations, you might say, you wouldn't give a second thought to, well, we went into the phone store and we worked out a new deal. And, in my list of to-dos, it's not really huge on the, it's not a biggie, but how important all those little experiences are if I'm monitoring my energy. A friend of mine in New Zealand used to say that, all I have to do, she would say, is I monitor my energy. And that's, as I become more aware, as I start discerning, I become more, what it means to me, discerning, is I become more aware of what's me and what's not me. But I start going, oh, I'm a little angry about that. Oh, I'm a little jealous of that person that's got a lot of money or that great car. What's that about? Because how much of that is me? And, that kind of thing. So, anyways, a simple solution, though, as well, is that cleansing technique that we often talk about. Find a way to center yourself again and be happy. I find, one of the secrets is to be happy that I discovered it. And
why don't you lead us through it, Tom?
What?
The cleansing technique.
Well, we've talked about that. We've got a video on our website, actually on our YouTube videos that show you how to do the cleansing technique, but we can briefly do it if you'd like to.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I'll briefly shake our hands to recharge them. You can feel the energy in your hands. You go up to your third eye area, gently rub, bring up the other hand, come across your brow like this, shake your hands to recharge them, come back up to here, go back behind your neck, come through and shake them to recharge them. And that lifts your vibration, and any energy that you may have picked up from the environment that doesn't belong there, or you'd rather not have carry with you, you can just change your energy like that. So I find it's usually, like you're saying, you discern it, you cleanse, discern it, cleanse again. I mean, that quickly you can change your energy.
Yeah. And that was just a little bit of the cleansing technique. So if you guys have my book, the Soulquake Survival Guide, I've got that cleansing in there, as well as 2 other cleansings that go out into your immediate environment and also the world. So that's something, if you do have that book, you can check that out too. As well as, like Tom said, on our YouTube channel, we have some videos on cleansing that's a little bit older, but maybe I'll put the link in this one. So you guys can find it if you want to go to the show notes. But
we have Teresa demonstrating the cleansing technique in a beautiful location in Sydney, Australia. It's worth checking out.
That was like a couple of years ago.
More than a couple.
So, Tom, in regrouping and helping our beautiful listeners understand the importance of just kind of finalizing and closing up the year and regrouping of where you're at the moment, what you've learned, do you have a way that you do it that you'd like to share with how they could do it? A suggestion?
Well, I think as I mentioned earlier, I probably just get a blank piece of paper and a pen. And if you've got a calendar or a diary, it's always good to just kind of flick through that and go, oh, yeah, that was then, and that was then, and we did this here, and we did that over there. And it's fun from a couple of points of view, is that, we had this trip to Australia that we planned. We were there for a month to see. I have 2 sons there, 2 adult sons. And and Teresa's got some business colleagues, and I have some old colleagues there as well. And it was a beautiful trip, and it was a big part of our planning, for the year. And it's great to just say, wow, we did all that. Like we moved through it. And, one of the things that you've got in that book of yours is the Soulquake Survivor Guide that Teresa wrote. It's got a way to cleanse your environment. So as you move into those situations like we were in, the environment's more cleansed, and we find that we accomplish our missions, our little missions within the phone store or wherever we're going, a little smoother. We end up getting, think about it. If you hadn't, we had cleansed before we went into that scenario. And so really we ended up getting everything we needed. Yeah. But just think if we hadn't cleansed, and maybe we'd have had a little alter, hey, what's wrong, and got caught in that energy, which gets nobody anywhere.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's some of the things I do is just look at my calendar. Mm-hmm. I like to keep it simple. I like to just acknowledge that I was here then, or I did that then, or then it reminds me of a goal maybe I set. And then I might make a note like, well, what was my favorite part of that? I think that's really important because I know that I have a tendency to put a lot of performance pressure on myself from my first 7 years. And it's very common, for men in our society to do that, and women as well these days. So primarily men, and hit certain business objectives. And some of those objectives we meet easily, and some of them we don't. But if I focus on the highlights, I feel good about it, and then I'm ready to move forward and I start to see, well, what I did accomplish. So again, I come back to what's positive is creative, and what's creative builds. And that's where the fun and the love is, and the enthusiasm, at least that I have for moving into the next year. So,
that's a good segue
yeah,
into the next year.
the next year.
So
What are you doing next year?
Oh man, well, I don't know yet.
Oh,
my vision is as well. I have a little clarity, but well, I do know that I want to share a little bit about the podcast and where we're going with it for 2024. So, for the first quarter, the first 3 months, I'm going to take a creative pause, and I'm actually going to do what I'm calling re-inspire some of the older episodes and episodes that maybe you didn't listen to, listeners.
that translates into more time for Tom.
And so I'm going to take a little break. I've actually not taken a break in the last 3.5 years. I've not taken any. It's pretty unbelievable. I looked back and regrouped and went, wow, I haven't taken one break. So I'm ready for a creative pause. I'm really to kind of look at, where do I want to take this podcast, and also, with Tom, kind of look at, how do we want to coordinate some things together with it. So yeah, the first 3 months, we're going to do some re-inspired episodes. And one thing I want to share about that is there's over 200 episodes. So now, if you have been listening since the beginning, oh, thank you so much. And if you've not, if you just kind of joined recently, there's a lot of information, a lot of wonderful sharings from really heartfelt people around the planet that came on and shared with me. And so when you listen to, some of the episodes, even for myself, if I've listened to something like a second or third time, I pick up something I didn't hear the first time. So it's a really good way to maybe gather some other, some new insights for yourself, or something that you might need to hear in different episodes. So that's what's going to be the first 3 months. And Tom may pop on and do some, he's actually going to do a bit of it too. And he might pop on and do some of his things coming up. Well, I guess I should say, hey, Tom, what's coming up in 2024 for you?
Thank you.
Instead of speaking
Thank you for that segue. What's coming up for me is I put together some notes on being a spiritual businessman. That's the working title.
Awesome.
And I'm looking for something a little more pizzazzy than that, but
it'll come.
It tells a story. And really, it's a collection of experiences I've had in my business life, from being an engineer to an FBI agent to a manufacturer's representative to an executive recruiter, and running my own little consulting business. And, I've always worked with these spiritual ideas and regroup myself spiritually. And my big thing, as I often say, is to make this all practical and somewhat pragmatic. So I'm going to share some excerpts from that book that's coming out next year, and help people sort of relate to all this, dare I say it, woo-woo stuff.
I don't like that word.
In a more practical way. But how to work with your sensitivity, how to work with those first impressions, how to recognize how other people communicate, how to work with my guidance, how to maintain my self-respect in all environments, how to maintain respect for all others, so that it's a win, win, win.
Oh,
you were talking about that the other day.
I was.
I guess I listen occasionally. So we're looking forward to that. And I'd like to say to folks, please like, subscribe, put any comments, any reviews. We'd love to hear some of your questions again. And, hear about some of your experiences. On this one, let's hear about some of your experiences where you discerned that an energy was you or not you.
Right.
So, I think it helps because, it's important from a spiritual perspective for me to maintain that inner enthusiasm and that inner strength and inner peace, that inner groundedness, if you want to say, that I realize that, not everything I'm picking up is necessarily mine, or I'm getting help with that. I'm getting help with that. And, so that's what I wanted to share about that.
Excellent. And so also, while I'm taking the creative pause, if you guys are on Facebook, please come over and follow or friend me. I'm on Facebook all the time doing all kinds of inspirational enthusiasm and sharing things on there. So it's a great place to connect with me if you want to come on over.
Oh yeah, Facebook. A lot of live, a lot of nice little tidbits.
Yeah.
Because when we're caught up in those energies, we're really out of the flow of what we really need to be doing. So when I get caught or I get stimulated, I'm back out of the flow of what's really going to help me get where I want to get or feel how I want to feel as I move through life and enjoy it more.
So I guess on that note, we'll just kind of say, thanks everyone for being on this ride with us this year. It's been amazing. It's been great having Tom on and doing these, what's up spiritually, or at least once. We've done it about once a month for the last few months. It's been wonderful. So, I just really want to give a heartfelt thank you again for all of you guys out there listening and taking the time to listen to us and enjoy the inspiration. I hope you've received some inspiration from us and some enthusiasm for, the spiritual part of who you are, that unseen part. And I know for myself, I'm very grateful. So thank you all so much.
Yeah. So let's make our spiritual new year practical. Let's work from our feelings first, then organize the feelings and take action. And boy, that sounds like a wonderful New Year's resolution.
Absolutely. So until next time, until next bat station. Wait, what is it? Next back time, next bat station. Is that what it is? The Batman?
Or I like to say, be there, aloha.
Be there, aloha. Just remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.